Grab a cup of coffee and start your Sunday with Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life features stories to inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Every Sunday morning at 9 on the Talk of New York, AM 970, The Apple. Visit cyacyl.com.
Hi, this is Joan Herman, and this is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Thanks for tuning in today. Before I introduce our guest, I'd just like to tell you that today's show may sound a bit different. We've had to record today's show from 2 remote locations, so while we may sound a bit different, I promise you will not be disappointed. We have a wonderful guest today, Nick Vujicic. Nick is the founder of the motivational speaking company Attitude is Altitude. Nick began the nonprofit ministry Life Without Limbs, and his debut book, Life Without Limits, was released in October 2010. Good morning, Nick. How are you?
Good morning, Joan. Very well. Yourself?
Very good, thank you. Nick, I want to tell you that through my work, I have been blessed to have the opportunity to meet so many incredible people. But I have been very excited about this interview with you today. Your work, the things that you say, the way you live your life, it's so powerful, it's so profound, and I just want you to know that you have really made an impact on my life and the way that I view things. So I hope that we can get all of that information and convey your message to our listeners today.
Well, I'm very thankful that you've been encouraged by it, and I do thank God for everything that I've ever been given. I am not a superhuman or anything like that, but there are things in my life that I will just wish to convey lessons and things that I've seen along the way to hopefully inspire more people to be all that they can be and to not give up. That's one of the things that gives me joy.
Nick, for our listeners who may not be familiar with you or know much about you, can you just tell us a little bit about how you were born and what it is that happened to you that created your life's mission?
I was born without arms and legs in Australia in 1982. And the doctors don't know why I was born this way. My parents, at first were very shocked and didn't know exactly how to handle the situation. I have a brother and a sister after me who don't have disabilities. And it was just, I guess, a test of faith and perseverance and love, really. And I look at my parents as my heroes who never gave up and did their best with me and got me into a mainstream school where I was able to then write with my little foot. I have no arms and legs, no medical reason, but I have a little left foot, and I'm able to write and type with that and drive my wheelchair, and doctors didn't know what kind of life I'd be able to have, and teachers didn't know exactly what I could achieve, but my parents always taught me from the beginning, you don't know what you can achieve until you try it. And they instilled, faith in me at the very beginning just to know that, my life's not a mistake.
Your life has so many lessons for people. So starting at the beginning, I think there's a lesson here for parents who may be in the same situation that your parents were in. So for listeners that may be faced with a child who is born with some sort of a disease or a condition that they're dealing with, can you tell us what was your parents' reaction, which I would believe would be a perfectly normal one, and how did they overcome their feelings in that very beginning?
At the beginning, my mom was very shocked, and she didn't know exactly, what was going on. She felt like she was in a bad dream, and at first couldn't really hold me, and it took her around 4 months before she could really come to terms with the fact that her firstborn son was born this way. My dad did take a lead in holding me and, took a lead in just slowly introducing me more and more to my mum that she'd get more comfortable. So it's sort of like a shock, and you go through, I interviewed my parents, and their sort of feelings and all that at that stage, actually, in my book, and it was just quite interesting to get that out of them on a deeper level. And it is a natural reaction. However, they say one step at a time in their faith in God, knowing that they're not alone and they have each other. That's how they got through. And many parents with disability, affected families, a lot of them end up in divorce. And so they stayed together and they had more children, and they basically trusted that, for whatever reason it happened, there's going to be some good out of it, or just basically make the most of it. There are many parents out there maybe who have children with no disabilities, but, the disability that they have is self-esteem. Trying to convince your teenager that their value is not determined on how many friends they have or what they do or what they, can't do. That's a difficult thing. And so I just want to encourage parents out there to continue to plant those seeds of encouragement in their teenagers' lives. Even though it may look and seem at times that you don't have an influence on your teenagers growing up, just keep on planting those seeds. And if you don't tell them you're beautiful, I don't know, who in their school would, because unfortunately we live in a world of judgment and selfishness and pride and all of that. So I just want, everybody to know, if there's any teenagers listening, you're beautiful just the way that you are. And you parents, I just want you to never ever give up in encouraging your teenagers to do their best.
What was it like for you when you left the safe haven of your home and you went to school and you were with other children?
Well, that was, I think, the moment where I realized that I was very different. I mean, I was always surrounded with family and friends before that, and they never made it obviously a big deal that I had no arms and legs, and I knew I had no limbs, but until I actually, stepped out of that little, if you want to say, protected shell, I actually was really, really shocked. Going to school and kids were teasing me and calling me names and all sorts, and it was difficult to believe in yourself or to believe that you're not a mistake when you have that. And so my parents, they knew that I would tend to shy, obviously not really speak up for myself at times, and it's not that they wanted me to get angry or aggressive or anything like that, but they realized that people, when they see me for the first time, they don't know exactly how to approach me, and they've never seen anything like me before, this situation. So, they said, Nick, just start talking. And so I started, just bringing up conversations or, saying something funny, and, that would spark up conversation. And so that was sort of a coping mechanism in the fact of, strategically trying to educate, I guess, the people around me that I'm just like them, just with a few parts missing. So it was quite difficult at the very beginning. In fact, that was half the reason why I did want to commit suicide. It was very difficult to believe, though, that I had a future and a hope. Didn't know what kind of life I was going to live, if I'd ever get a job, and if I was just going to be a burden to my parents, then what's the point of being here? And so I went through a depression.
Yeah, I was going to touch upon that one time you were quoted that you felt broken, hopeless, alone. As you just said, you said that you didn't really see a purpose in your life. When and how did you overcome those feelings?
I think between ages 8 and 12, I went through my times of depression, as we could say, and I told my mom at age 8 I wanted to commit suicide. At age 10, I actually tried by trying to drown myself in a bathtub. And at age 13, though, I had two experiences in that year where it was sort of like a wake-up call, I guess, where I would read a story about a man with a disability. And, I looked at him in the newspaper, and I'm like, wow, I really have a choice, either to be angry for what I don't have or be thankful for what I do have. And I've known that all my life, my parents always told me that, but until you actually educate yourself and bring your awareness to another point of understanding that I'm not the only one, in pain that can't be changed. Not to say that they're suffering more than me. Subconsciously we do that. That's not real hope. But the understanding and principle of being thankful for what you do have, doing your best, and God will do the rest. And that to me was definitely hitting home when I sprained my foot playing soccer. And very, very thankful for my foot. I've always had been, but when I sprained it, I felt disabled for the very first time. And very, very thankful for it, because it's like my arms and legs as far as mobility and doing things and getting around and typing and writing and driving my wheelchair and swimming and all of that. So I never had been so thankful for my foot at age 13. And then the last turning point of from sort of more of a negative mindset to a positive, my life really changed at 15 when I felt like all my answers came as far as the question of why was I born this way? If there is a God who loves me, then why was I born this way? And I saw in John chapter 9 a man who was born blind, and I thought, wow, well, if God has a plan for a blind man, then God has a plan for me. And so that's when I started my faith journey, and I've never been the same again after that, knowing that I'm not a mistake and knowing that I'm not alone, and all things come together for the good. And started speaking at 19, and it's been an amazing journey of seeing how even the worst parts of my life can be used for good to encourage somebody else in their storm.
So you found your peace when you found your mission.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And that was at 19 when this opportunity came, and I spoke in front of 300 teenagers, and I didn't know exactly, how it would turn out, and my palms were sweating, my knees were shaking, and I had 7 minutes to talk, and within 3 minutes, half the girls were crying, and this one girl in the middle of the room started weeping, and she came up and she hugged me, and she cried on my shoulder, and she said, "Thank you, thank you, thank you. No one's ever told me that they love me. No one's ever told me that I'm beautiful the way that I am." And I'm like, wow, the world really needs to hear that message. And so I was halfway through my double degree in accounting and financial planning at that stage. And when I graduated at 21, I went into full-time speaking.
And I have to tell you, Nick, when I was reading some of the things that people had said about you, there was one from a young schoolgirl that really struck me. And I can't even imagine what it must be like for you to hear something like this. And I quote, "I think that besides Jesus, you are the most amazing person ever to walk on this earth." Nick, what does it feel like to have someone say that to you? I can't even imagine. I have chills just repeating that.
You know what? That has to be the highest compliment that one could ever give me. And I would never want to be compared to Jesus, because he was so much higher than me in so many ways, and I'll never ever be close to anything that God represents. I am a human being under construction, a work in progress, but to know that he could use us who are undeserving of his love, he loves us unconditionally. It's the fact of realizing that we are here to love him and love our neighbor as ourselves, to understand that when your storms don't part, you can still carry someone else through theirs. That touches me when people are encouraged, and that's a profound statement. And when someone says, "Nick, I wanted to commit suicide, but then I saw your YouTube video, I saw your DVD, or I've got your book now." When people say, "Nick, it really changed my life," or "Nick, I was about to commit suicide, that video stopped me," you can't put a price on that. And I just want people to know that maybe you'll never become a speaker, but you just don't know what platform you have just in your daily life, with a smile, with a phone call, "Hi, how are you doing?" But looking them in the eye and say, "No, really, how are you?" after they say fine. That's a communication of love. And I think love is the most powerful thing that we've ever been able to experience as creation.
Nick, it reminds me of a beautiful quote from the Butterfly Circus: "The greater the struggle, the more glorious the triumph." I absolutely love that. And what you're saying is that it gives all of us a purpose to wake up in the morning.
That's right. I mean, of course, to believe in something you don't see is very difficult, and that in itself is faith. But I truly believe that every single person does have a purpose. I don't believe that one person is a mistake, and people say, well, why is then my sibling, got this mental handicap, and what purpose can they possibly have? Well, I just want you to know that I don't know the answers, but what I do know is seeing a parent serve their mentally handicapped child, it's a tangible way in seeing unconditional love being served, and that inspired my parents to do their best with me. And even though that's your life and you don't see a purpose that's so clear, just the way you live your life and people witness your love and your perseverance, it's a testimony in itself. And our hope is not in this earth. It's very temporary, and money, drugs, sex, alcohol, pornography, fame, fortune, it's all temporary things. But if I'm here on this earth to encourage one person to come to eternity in whatever capacity, what an awesome purpose to live for, and to get to know God more and more.
Nick, on that note, we're going to take a short break for our sponsors. This is Joan Herman. We'll be right back.
Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life now has a monthly free digital magazine that can be mailed to your inbox or read online at cyacyl.com. Each month, nationally recognized leaders in their fields, such as Joel Osteen, Shaun T., Tanya Brown, Ed and Deb Shapiro, Food Network's Robert Irvine, plus many others, provide the tools that you need to inspire and motivate you. We believe in a holistic approach to life, incorporating mind, body, and spirit. As philosopher Francis Bacon said, knowledge is power. Take the wisdom provided in the publication and apply it to your everyday life. Visit cyacyl.com for more information or to begin your free subscription. That's cyacyl.com.
Welcome back to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Our guest today is author, speaker, motivator, Nick Vujicic. Nick is the founder of the motivational speaking company Attitude is Altitude. His nonprofit ministry is Life Without Limbs, and his debut book, Life Without Limits, was released in October 2010. Nick, through your organization, Life Without Limbs, you travel all over the world speaking to people. How many countries and how many people do you think it is that you've reached?
Face-to-face, it's been roughly 4 million people across 36 countries so far.
Now, you talk about, in your presentation, I've seen you talk about failing, and you say that if I fail, I try again, and again, and you believe that it's important how we finish. What is it that you could tell people to inspire them to not give up, to keep trying, to not be afraid if they fail?
You don't know what's around the corner until you go around the corner. That's the first thing. If you never go around that bend, you don't know, what good could possibly come out of that, and that might seem offensive to someone who's just lost a loved one. But here's the first chapter of my book. It says, if you can't get a miracle, become one. And it's a story about how I met a little boy with no arms and no legs, just like me. And, it changed my life to see, now I can be a voice of hope or an older brother to this little boy. And I can't explain how my heart felt when I saw my mum hug his mum and my dad hug his dad. And it was just incredible. And now he swims and, he goes to school, and it's just great, to see that one, if you want to say, fruit, that one fruit of labor. If you put all my pain and all my depression and all my brokenness together, would I do it all over again if I could just help this little boy, Daniel, get through his life, knowing that what he's about to experience I've gone through before? I would do it all over again just for him, because the value of his soul, human being, mind, body, and a soul, is invaluable. There is not another you out there. And so you just never know, what's around the corner, and you can't afford to give up, because there is hope until you give up. And I was convinced there was no hope. Well, what if I actually went through it all the way and I committed suicide? I never thought I'd be able to do what I've been doing today. And Many people say, well, Nick, when I'm preaching through Life Without Limbs, and approximately 800 million people know me on the media as far as press conferences each time we go into different countries, people say, well, Nick, how can I believe in a God who, lets you be born this way? And I realize that in my life I can't explain everything, but what I do know, what the Bible says, is that the pain didn't come from God, but what did come, God can actually turn into good. And there is an explanation in the Bible. I don't want to be preaching too much, but it's the fact of knowing that you're not a mistake. Not even your suffering is a mistake. And if we stick more strictly to the attitude side, that you wouldn't be who you are until you've gone through what you've gone through. You'll always learn more in the valleys than on the mountains. It builds up character. It builds up perseverance. You know now what you've gone through, and maybe you wouldn't be who you are unless you've gone through that.
Nick, it seems so clear, because in your statement, if you're praying for a miracle, and if God doesn't give you the miracle, you be the miracle. Looking at your life, you are the miracle, because, as you said, if you had committed suicide, just think how many lives you would not have been here to touch. And through your work, you have made such an incredible difference. So what you're saying is absolutely correct. For someone who feels that they have no purpose, to take it from being so inward and to offer it out, and then you do become a miracle for someone else.
Well, absolutely. And we want to encourage everybody as much as possible through the ministry of Life Without Limbs, just that fact. And so we actually started, sharing people's stories of, impossibility, disability, but seeing just how that can be turned around. It's very inspiring to anybody who reads it. So, 80% of my personal life, no matter what context it was, 80% of my inspiration really were based on different stories as well. Of course, having faith and that being the foundation, but a lot of stories were used for me to be inspired, and so that, I believe, is such a powerful tool, and I believe we all have a story to tell.
Well, Dick, to end this interview on a positive note, I saw a video of you surfing with Bethany Hamilton. What was that like?
That was really, really cool. Unbelievable. I was on a longboard, and I'd never done anything like it before. And the beach was, stopping and looking at this guy with no arms and legs, surfing with Bethany Hamilton. And it took me about 15 goes before I could actually raise myself up on the board. But once I did, it was incredible. And I always, tend to push limits. So while the board was going straight and was celebrating, I actually did 3 360s while the board was going straight. And I found out I'm the only human being who's ever done that, and so someone was taking photos and got me on the front page of a professional surfer magazine. And so that was really interesting. But Bethany is great. She goes out there and she goes on in the waves and worships and is just so cool and loving and caring. And actually her movie's coming out, Soul Surfer. Have you heard about it?
No, I haven't.
Coming out in April 8, the preview screenings, but actually I think it's April 8 that it's actually coming out in. So, definitely check that out. It's going to be very inspiring.
And for our listeners who may not be familiar with Bethany, she's a professional surfer who lost her left arm as a result of a shark attack. But let me ask you, Nick, do you have a new career now as a surfer? Will we see you out there competing?
No, unfortunately not. But I actually hope to maybe go back to Hawaii. We're going back in April, actually, this year. And I think we'll have another shot at it. It was really fun, so I'm going to do it again.
It looked beautiful there. If our listeners would like more information about Nick, you can visit websites lifewithoutlimbs.org or attitudeisaltitude.com. And as always, you can find links on our website, CYACYL, which stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. That's CYACYL.com. Please visit our site where you can listen to past shows as podcasts. You can read the digital magazine, sign up for the mailing list, or follow the show on Facebook. Again, Nick, it was so incredible having you here today. Our guest was Nick Vujicic, founder of the motivational speaking company Attitude is Altitude. Nick began the nonprofit ministry Life Without Limbs, and his debut book, Life Without Limits, was released in October 2010. Nick, I know that you're going to be doing some traveling coming up, so we wish you the best of luck. And anytime you want to come back, we'd love to have you here. We didn't even get into your story, really, so we have a lot that we can cover.
Well, Joan, thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it, and may God bless you as you continue to encourage people.
Thank you. Same to you, Nick. This is Joan Herman, and this is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Thanks for tuning in.